Thank you. I'll be, when I wave my finger, I'll just be indicating for a new image. I'm not making a special point. Okay, first image. Thank you. I have been invited to speak as an art critic and artist about recent attacks on beauty. I could explain that the left's assaults on the classical trinity of truth, beauty, and goodness is concerted action by materialists against the notion of natural order. However, I will not do that today. My colleagues can articulate these discussions better. What I will speak about is ugliness and its necessity. In print, interviews, and speeches, I have defended classical beauty and criticized its desecration. There was need for this, but it is a role for which I am not well suited. I am not a natural advocate for classicism because as an artist, I do not practice it. My masters are Francis Bacon, Wyndham Lewis, and T.S. Eliot, all reactionary modernists who dwelt upon horror and ugliness. That separates me from traditionalists, yet I align politically with many of you. I have advocated for conservation of classical culture and endorsed traditionalism. Why? Firstly, revulsion at the consensus of the liberalist, materialist West. Secondly, personal and political kinship with artists who are conservative, despite the aesthetic distance between us. Thirdly, a passion to preserve crafts. Finally, a wish to cultivate an artistic counterculture independent of the state. I remember how I was once a traditionalist with an old master complex. Here is part of an article describing my awakening. Quote, I became aware that my position was self-conscious. I was thinking about myself as an artist rather than thinking solely about the art. And real art only comes about when one abandons the self and submits oneself to the imperatives of the picture and conveying meanings or values. Thinking of myself not just as the latest old master, but as an artist at all, was not so much inhibiting me as disabling me. Please do not allow young artists with old master complexes to deceive themselves by providing unthinking patronage. Support art you like, but support art that is difficult and which you would never dream of having in your home. Here is such an image by Polish painter Władysław Beksinski. Greeks believed art springs from the zeitgeist. That is why imitating the Greeks is impossible and unwise. We are not ancient Greeks, so we can't do as they do, because we can't think or feel as they did. Art is a chain of regrowth. No Renaissance painter thought of himself as an old master. Instead, he thought of himself as a modern artist describing his world. Tradition for its own sake is a mere husk. It is the vital essence that is the kernel inside that grows anew, emerging in forms unique to its age and people. This is something Julius Evola suggested. We have to embody our zeitgeist, portraying ugliness and beauty, the difference between which may not be initially discernible. One of my heroes is Degas. His art was damned as repulsive because it showed the human figure, principally women, in positions that made it seem animalistic. Degas said that his art showed, quote, the human animal taking care of herself, a cat licking herself. When his statue of a young ballerina was exhibited, it was derided as looking like a monkey. The eternal truths Degas reminds us are that flesh is weak, youth fleeting, and strange beauty can be found in even the plainest women. Charles Baudelaire wrote of the necessity of aberration, quote, you may remember that Charles Baudelaire was a very unhappy resident of Brussels and wrote some rather cutting things. Quote, the beautiful is always strange. It always contains a touch of strangeness, of simple, unpremeditated, unconscious strangeness, and it is this touch of strangeness that gives it its particular quality as beauty, unquote. Baudelaire understood that adhering to conventions would produce imitators, not artists. Here is one such imitator, a painting by William Adolphe Bouguereau. Not a bad painting as it goes, but not very good. I urge you to think not of traditionalism, but of great art. If we back only art that conforms to a traditionalist appearance, alongside talented artists, we will endorse mediocre artists who follow formulae. They are not part of a living culture. A living culture is one that is able to accept risks because its central core is healthy. If we are unable to accept the artist who deviates from the norm, that is a sign of an insecure elite. Healthy societies are capable of supporting some free riders, an economic term, who are deviant or abnormal. Among their number are artists, some of whom we now consider the greatest figures of their age: Degas, Sheila, Beardsley, Soutine. You are better placed to judge my art than I am, so I will not make a case for myself as a great artist. If a better artist is to follow me, he will make art that dares to present ugliness and beauty that is unique to his age. I give you examples of my paintings. They are fragmented and anonymized in a contemporary way. You may not care for these paintings, but you will not forget them. I believe that there are artists who work constrained by traditional styles who are capable of powerful work if they are not concerned with the approval of conservatives. Judging art in terms of style and fidelity to nature will give you dead culture, possessing no more life than the shallowest socialist realism. If you apply restrictions in terms of style, you yourselves may be the enemies of beauty. Only by discriminating in terms of quality on levels such as excellent, memorability, and honesty will you recognize great living art. I tell you that the first time you see the art that will come to embody your age in the eyes of later generations, you will find it incomprehensible. It will not conform to what you expect, nor to what you want. Man follows one of two outlooks. He either takes a tragic view of mankind, which sees man as flawed, limited, compromised by sin and internal urges that can be destructive and selfish, or the utopian view, which sees man as moldable, perfectible, inclined towards goodness and altruism, and a product of his surroundings. The tragic view is the view of the political right, pessimists, and that of most religions. The utopian view is that of liberals and progressives. Beksinski is an artist who epitomizes the tragic view of mankind. My position is that if an artist is not true to his vision, he is nothing. The art I'm compelled to make tells me something true and perhaps uncomfortable about how people are and how I am. The traditional style is not one I can follow in good conscience because it does not seem to be frank about the worlds we inhabit. In closing, I ask you, do you want art where we emulate past cultures or one where we preserve the best and compete with our ancestors by producing ambitious art? Would you recognize new great art if you saw it? And would you turn away when confronting beauty so strange that you initially mistook it for ugliness? Thank you.